Hello. I'm Morgan, your friendly neighborhood bibliothecary. Now, I am super hyped for Dragon Age the Veilguard to be releasing in the end of October. So, in preparation for that, I will be reading the in game Codex entries of the first three games. Now, I'm super excited to be jumping back into the lore of Thedas, and I hope that you will be excited to join me on this journey as well. Today, we'll be reading the Codex entries for companions in Dragon Age Origins. Warning, there are in-game spoilers in these codex entries. So, without further ado, grab your cuppa, make yourself comfortable, and let's start reading. Alistair. One good thing about the Blight is how it brings people together. Alistair was a novice Templar when Duncan recruited him into the Grey Wardens, or rescued him, as Alistair would say. His mother was a serving girl, who died when Alistair was very young. He was raised by Aemon Garin, Arl of Redcliffe, for a time. The Arl's wife, Isolde, suspected the reason her husband took an interest in the welfare of a servant's child was that Alistair was Aemon's son. She insisted that the boy be sent away to the Chantry. Isolde's suspicions were unfounded, however. Alistair was not Aemon's son, but King Merrick's. Aemon sheltered the boy to hide his existence from Queen Rowan, Aemon's sister. Alistair is fascinated by magic, even as his life is defined by fighting its darker manifestations. He has a fondness for strange runestones and figural studies of arcane creatures. If Alistair is made king. With a great deal of assistance, Alistair was recognized by the Landsmeet as Merrick's son and granted his father's throne. If Loghain is saved and Alistair is not king. Unable to accept the decision to spare Loghain's life, Alistair left, and has not been seen since. If Honora is made queen and Alistair is executed. To prevent further civil war, he was executed at the Landsmeet on the orders of Queen Honora, ending the Theron line. If Alistair kills the Archdemon. In the battle against the Archdemon in Denerim, Alistair gave his life to save his friends and end the Blight. Dog. The Mabari is clever enough to speak, and wise enough to know not to, Ferelden proverb. If the Warden is a human noble. The Warden's warhound has a pedigree older than High Ever, and a penchant for driving cooks to distraction. If the Warden is not a human noble. The Warden found this Mabari in the camp at Ostagar. His master was killed in the wilds, and Dog fell ill from biting the Darkspawn in battle. Dog seems to have chosen the Warden as his new master now, seeking the Warden out after the battle at Ostagar and warning of an impending Darkspawn attack. Leliana. In the cloister, away from the fuss and the flurry of the cities, I found peace, and in that stillness I could hear the Maker. If Leliana is successfully romanced. Here with you, knowing the freedom of the road and the uncertainty of tomorrow, I feel alive again. A lay sister of the Chantry who can beat the stuffing out of trained mercenaries would be notable enough, but one who also claims to have been sent to fight the Darkspawn by the Maker himself is unusual, to say the least. If Leliana's initial offer of help is accepted, she joined Alistair and the Warden in Lothering, insisting that she would prove useful. If Leliana's initial offer of help is declined, she asked to join the Grey Wardens in their endeavors. Sort of, but was turned away. If Leliana joins the Warden at Lothering's exit after her initial rejection, her persistence, however, paid off. She made them relent and allow her to join in their travels. If Leliana admits she was a bard. There's more to Leliana than had even been apparent in Lothering, however. She spent much of her life as a bard in Orlais, a minstrel, assassin, and spy employed by the nobles of Val Royeaux in their elaborate games of intrigue. If Leliana tells the Warden about Marjolaine's betrayal, her decision to join the Chantry was not merely the product of her disenchantment with the life of a bard. Leliana was framed by her bard master and fled to escape execution as a traitor. Leliana takes care to honor the Lothering cloister that took her in, and keep symbols of Adraste's blessings close to her heart. If Leliana leaves, she eventually was driven away, and has not been seen since. If the Warden defiles the urn of sacred ashes whilst Leliana is present, when the Warden corrupted and destroyed the sacred ashes of Andraste, Leliana drew her weapon and was killed alongside the Guardian. Morgan. Witch of the Wilds. Such idle fancies, those legends. Have you no minds of your own? Of herself, Morrigan says little. She does not deny being a witch of the woods, but beyond that, everything about her is in question. Her mother claims to be Flemeth. If that's true, the Morrigan might well be a very powerful witch, for the tales of the daughters of Flemeth tell of twisted, monstrous women who can kill a man with fear. She was made to accompany the surviving Grey Wardens, the payment, Flemeth said, for saving their lives at the Tower of Ishal. If she is told to leave, whatever Flemeth's purpose was, however, will probably never be known. Morrigan's critical eye is not reserved solely for others. Knowing or not, she has a simple fondness of jewelry and is very particular about her appearance. On the eve of battle with the archdemon, she made an offer to the wardens: sire a child with her, and she could use it to capture the archdemon's soul at the moment of death, saving the warden who struck the killing blow. If her offer was refused, when the bargain is turned down, Morrigan disappeared. After fighting a battle, if her offer was accepted. After the battle, Morrigan disappeared. Oghren. I'm not saying I should be your first pick for a dance partner at the inaugural ball, but in the deep roads, I'm your man. Oghren of House Condrat was once a promising member of the warrior caste. His house was not especially high-ranked, but many of its members, Oghren included, had won notable victories and provings and were considered to be rising in prestige. When a Smith caste family with plenty of money but no political connections offered their daughter in marriage, his family accepted the match, and then everything changed. His wife Branca was named a paragon for her achievements. All of House Condrat joined her newly made notable House Branca and vanished with her into the deep roads. As time passed and it became more and more clear that Oghren had been abandoned, he became the butt of jokes throughout Orzammar. He took to drink, which didn't especially help. Drunk and humiliated, he challenged another warrior to a proving over an insult and killed him. The match was meant to be fought to first blood. As a punishment, he was stripped of his house and barred from bearing arms, the only fate worse for a warrior than exile. The Grey Warden mounted a search for Branca and found her, and the Anvil of the Void for which she led her house to their deaths. If Oghren continues with the Warden after a paragon of her kind. Afterwards, having apparently nothing better to do, Oghren offered his services to the Grey Warden and left Orzammar to help end the blight. Oghren enjoys challenging his palate with alcohols of ever-increasing rarity, potency, and outright lethality. This has offered him no benefit whatsoever. If the Warden kills Oghren, he was killed in a dispute with the Warden. If Oghren leaves the Warden after joining, he left some time later for parts unknown. Shale. What can I say? I have a heart of stone. The golems of Orzammar once made up the vanguard of the dwarven army, holding back the tides of darkspawn that flooded out of the deep roads. But the art of making them was lost, and many of them succumbed to wear and damage in battle. Shale has no memories either of the time spent fighting in the deep roads or of coming to Honleith, only a few spotty and bitter recollections of its last master. If recruited, the Warden unearthed Shale's control rod and awakened it, adding a bitter malfunctioning golem to the menagerie of companions. If the quest of a golem's memory was completed, 300 years earlier she had been Shale of House Kadash, warrior of King Voltor, and a volunteer who chose to dedicate her life for all time to the defense of Orzammar. If the Warden sided with Branca with Shale in the party during the Anvil of the Void, Shale was destroyed while fighting the Warden. Sten. Either you have an enviable memory or a pitiable life to know nothing of regret. The northern islands are remote, lush jungles that harbor cities rumored to be the most extraordinary ever built. These are the lands of the Kunari, lands that no foreign eyes ever see. Only the stories of the 3 exalted marches waged against the giants have reached the south, until the arrival of Sten. The stoic giant in the cage was surely the strangest thing the people of Lothering had ever seen, until the blight struck. If Sten is not rescued from his cage, he remained in his cage to await death, and most likely found it. If he tells the wardens why he is imprisoned, he was sent with a small group of Kunari soldiers to investigate the blight and report back. Outside Lothering, they were ambushed by Darkspawn. They fought off the attack, but only Sten survived. Farmers found him dying and took him in, but when he awoke, alone and unarmed, he panicked, killing the entire family. Realizing he had sacrificed his honor, Sten waited for the villagers to come and surrendered, expecting death. If the Sword of the Barasad quest completed. His sword and his honor restored, Sten chose to continue with the Warden and take the battle to the Archdemon. Sten has an eye for paintings, an appreciation that might seem out of character, but is actually an extension of Kunari discipline. He respects an artist for careful composition, a skill that is as much about where the brushstroke stops as where it begins. If Sten leaves, he left, intending to seek out the Archdemon alone. Win. I will not lie motionless in a bed, with coverlets up to my chin, awaiting for death to claim me. If Win's approval reaches warm, it's perfectly all right to think about the many indignities you plan to inflict on your enemies, but to talk about it, well, that would be unladylike. Win's talent became apparent early on, particularly her skill at healing magic. She was well liked by all her mentors and was recognized as an exceptionally gifted student. Even the Templars who watched her could not deny that she represented the best the circle had to offer. She was an intelligent young woman who possessed a quiet confidence and maturity beyond her years. She spent many years mentoring apprentices within the circle, and her peers thought so highly of her that she was asked to be First Enchanter Irving's successor, but she refused, saying that she had no desire to work in the upper echelons. When word reached the Tower of King Kaelin's call to arms, Wyn volunteered to go to Ostagar. If Wyn is alive upon completion of the quest Broken Circle. She escaped the battle with her life and stayed to search for survivors and tend the wounded. When she returned home, she found that Uldred had gone on ahead of her, spreading the lie that the Wardens had betrayed Kaelin and urging the Circle to support Loghain. Wyn immediately spoke with Irving and told him the truth. Irving then confronted Uldred about his falsehoods, prompting Uldred to use terrible measures to take over the tower. If the Warden kills Wyn during Broken Circle. While trying to save what was left of the Circle, Wyn was cut down by the Warden. If Wyn continues on with the Warden after Broken Circle. After dealing with Uldred and his abominations, Wyn joined the Warden in the quest to end the Blight. For Wyn, the printed word is a window to true understanding. A scholar by heart, she feels that what a people commit to the page is sacred by definition. If the Warden defiles the urn of sacred ashes in Wyn's presence. She was killed fighting alongside the Guardian when Andraste's ashes were corrupted and destroyed. Zevran. The crows send their regards. If Zevran becomes friendly, I intend to see this through to the end with you. After all, someone must take responsibility for preventing your untimely death. Between the Tevinter Imperium, Ravain, and the Free Marches sits the nation of Antiva. Although it possesses few resources of its own, Antiva's location makes it a center for trade in the north, and the capital, Antiva City, is the wealthiest in the world. Antiva has virtually no army. The monarchy is too weak to support one. Most Antivans would be hard-pressed even to name the current king, as the true power lies in the hands of a dozen merchant princes, each with a personal army, and each locked in constant struggle for power against all the others. Anyone would think, then, that Antiva would be a ripe target for invasion by one of her neighbors, but even the Kunari leave Antiva alone for one very good reason: the House of Crows. The most efficient, most feared, and most expensive guild of assassins in the world calls Antiva their home, and their reputation alone defends the borders. After Zevran's assassination attempt, Zevran was the crow contracted by Loghain to assassinate Alistair and the Warden. One failed attempt later, however, he found himself at the mercy of his would-be victims. If Zevran is not recruited and killed, he was killed, which likely has ruined the crow's otherwise perfect record of successes. If Zevran is not recruited and released, they showed somewhat dubious mercy by letting him go, and what's become of him is anyone's guess. If Zevran is recruited, they showed him unexpected mercy, and in return he swore to aid the Wardens on their quest to end the Blight. If Zevran subsequently leaves, they parted ways, however, and Zevran has not been seen since. If Zevran is subsequently killed, other than when Taliesin attacks, things don't always work out as expected, however, and Zevran was killed in a disagreement with the warden. If Zevran sides with Taliesin in the attack after the Landsmeet is called. The word of a crow, however, is little more than noise. Crows ambushed the warden and Zevran joined them. He was killed alongside his Antivan brothers. Zevran shows an affinity for the finer things in life, hardly surprising for an Antivan crow, but his appreciation can be more poetic than he lets on. A simple bar of refined silver or gold, uncomplicated by a craftsman hammer, is elegantly valuable. Thanks for reading with me. Until next time, I'll catch you later. But be sure to come back and visit the Bibliothecary.